Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we are going to circle back now to the Supreme Court and the absolute devastating news earlier this week that they had no interest in taking Maryland's assault weapon ban or Rhode Island's magazine ban. And it has a lot of you out there just completely flipping out. And really, a lot of you are commenting how you have no faith in the nation's highest court anymore. And this would be the time where, if we could, we would step in and say, hey, everyone, chill out. Let's look at it this way. But had a chance to do a lot of geeking out, a lot of soul searching. And I understand where you're all coming from because I'm coming from the same point as well. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about today. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about if they only cared about you as much as they do illegal aliens. Okay, America, Dateline, Monday, June 2nd. We all got up anxiously for like the 15th or 16th time in a row now to find out, would the Supreme Court actually be accepting Maryland's assault weapon ban case and Rhode Island's magazine ban case in a case called Snope v. Brown and Ocean State Tactical versus Rhode Island. Only then to find out that actually the Supreme Court was not interested in taking it. Now, understand that it only takes 4 justices to accept a case for review for that case to actually be scheduled before the United States Supreme Court. And we theoretically have a, 6-judge majority right now? Is that what I thought? That means at least half of the alleged conservative Supreme Court justices voted to not accept these cases. And now we know that the only 3 judges who actually would have accepted review are Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, and Justice Gorsuch, which leaves Justice Kavanaugh, Trump appointee, Justice Comey Barrett, Trump appointee, and Chief Justice Roberts, Bush appointee, as the people who are on the outside looking in saying, no, we don't want this. Now, I want you to understand that a lot of people say that a right delayed is a right denied, and understand that the Maryland assault weapon ban in question here was actually enacted back in 2013. Okay, so if in fact there is a violation of constitutional rights going on, they've been going on for at least a dozen years, and it's going to be going on a little bit more. Now, I had originally been of the position that, hey, listen, you know what? If they were going to deny these petitions, they would have done so already. We don't need 13, 14, 15 conferences. But then a week before we got the bad news on Snope and Ocean State, let us remember that there were 2 other huge cases, a case called Morrison out of the First Circuit, which dealt with a very, very important free speech right of students. And then there was another case called Apache Stronghold out of the Ninth Circuit, which really dealt with the destruction of the Apache Nation's most sacred grounds. And between the 2 of those cases, they had 25 conferences. And yet, what did the Supreme Court do just a week before they shot Snope and Ocean State out of the sky? Yeah, that's right. They did the same thing to the Apache Nation case. They did the same thing to the Morrison case. So what the Supreme Court did Monday and what the Supreme Court did a week prior is in itself rather offensive. But for those of you who think that, well, your Second Amendment rights are just not important enough for the United States Supreme Court, you may be right. Because for whatever reason, Justice Kavanaugh, who did not obviously vote to accept these cases, decided that he needed to author a memorandum stating his opinion on the assault weapon ban issue. And we already know what your opinion was, Justice Kavanaugh, which is it's not important enough for the court to review it. And as much as we want to accuse these courts of kicking the can down the road, at least give it to Justice Kavanaugh, who actually just came out and said, well, that's exactly what we're doing. Because he was quoted as saying, a denial of certiorari does not mean that the court agrees with the lower court decision or that the issue is not worthy of review. And maybe we'll just take it up in another term or 2. And then let us remember that he was willing to punt this back down to all of the circuit courts that he darn well knows is absolutely not going to uphold the Second Amendment rights of lawful and responsible citizens. The AR-15 issue was recently decided by the First Circuit and is currently being considered by several other courts of appeals. Opinions from other courts of appeals should assist this court's ultimate decision-making on the AR-15 issue. Yes, when each and every one of them is given an opportunity to make more bad case law and to eviscerate the constitutional rights of American citizens in those divisions. Additional petitions for certiorari will likely be before this court shortly, and in my view, this court should and presumably will address the AR-15 issue soon in the next term or two. Yeah. So how many times has this issue been run up to the United States Supreme Court? More times than we can count. And how many more petitions are on the way? Well, there's at least a half dozen coming out of Illinois. There's a bunch coming out of California. And now you got a couple coming out of Washington. Oregon will soon be joining that list. There's currently challenges out of New Jersey as well as Connecticut. So the Supreme Court is abundantly aware of the importance of this issue. The Supreme Court is abundantly aware of how critical this is to the inalienable rights of lawful, responsible Americans everywhere. It's just they don't care. And although all of you should be offended by what the Supreme Court chose to not do earlier this week, that offense level should go through the ceiling when you really consider what Justice Kavanaugh did, which is he basically wrote an apology letter and asked all of you not to be upset because, well, he just doesn't think your constitutional rights are important enough. And let us also remember that Justice Coney Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts are of the same opinion. But what should infuriate you more than anything is the simple fact that while this court shows a complete unwillingness to actually address the constitutional rights of American citizens, where government is actually and clearly infringing upon them, well, they'll drop everything to help out an illegal alien, won't they? Consider what happened over Easter weekend when President Trump tried to deport violent gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. Somehow or another, the court was able to get together in a matter of about 72 hours, and 7 justices were able to get together and vote to stop President Trump, prompting both Justice Alito and Justice Thomas to write scathing dissenting opinions, questioning the legitimacy of what the United States Supreme Court had even done. Oh, and that 7-2 majority, yeah, that did include Justice Gorsuch, it did include Justice Kavanaugh, it did include Justice Coney Barrett, and it did include Chief Justice Roberts. So in just the last month, America, what you have seen is you have seen a critical First Amendment issue in Morrison just get shoved aside. You've seen a critical issue with the most sacred grounds known to the Apache Nation just get shoved aside. And we've seen 2 of the most important issues to your Second Amendment rights just get shoved aside. And that alone is a really, really bad look for the highest court in the land. But then when you see how they will expedite any issue that comes before them involving people who are here illegally, how you see that the highest court in the land will cater to people who are here illegally, to do whatever necessary to protect what little rights they have, while at the same time absolutely ignoring the trampling of rights that are occurring right before them. Well, that in and of itself is the most infuriating component here, isn't it? Listen, every Chief Justice puts their mark on the Supreme Court, and it is obvious that Chief Justice Roberts is a moderate. It's also obvious that Chief Justice Roberts is an incrementalist, which means that he doesn't necessarily look for big, bold cases, but little tiny ways to chip away at it. And while he may think that that is actually securing and preserving the integrity and reputation of the highest court in the land, what he is doing by catering to those that are here illegally, while actually ignoring the plight of lawful and responsible gun-owning Americans, does nothing more than just further discredit the highest court in the land. We are at a point in time right now where government institutions have the lowest credibility rating in the history of this country. And the Supreme Court has, for the most part, always been able to kind of stay above the fray. But in Chief Justice John Roberts, the strong desire to be an incrementalist and to avoid some of the political hot potatoes that they're tasked with deciding, what he has actually done is he has discredited the Supreme Court to the same level that we see with many of our other government institutions. Listen, if you guys got any thoughts about this, we'd love to hear what you think. Put them down there in the comment section. If you got any questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. But if you don't, that's okay. That information down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, you click on that link right there and you tell us all about it. And if you want to subscribe to the monthly newsletter, the ability to sign up for that is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, America, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Keep fighting, America, and stay safe.